The weather patterns across America are about to flip upside down in the next 72 hours. What's coming will affect over 150 million people from coast to coast. Right now, at this very moment, rivers in Washington state are hitting record levels. Some haven't been this high in 50 years. And here's what nobody's talking about. This is just the beginning. By the time we reach minute 5 of this forecast, you'll know exactly which day this week will bring the most dangerous conditions to your area. And at 3 minutes 20 seconds, I'll reveal the shocking temperature swing that's breaking computer models. Let's start with what's happening right this second. The Pacific Northwest is getting hammered. We're talking 5 to 10 inches of rain in the next 72 hours. Some spots near the coast, nearly 12 inches. That's a foot of water falling from the sky in 3 days. But here's where it gets interesting. Nearly 100,000 people were evacuated last week. This week, we're expecting similar numbers, possibly more. Now, you might be wondering, how does this affect me if I'm in the Midwest or the East Coast? Here's the connection, and this is critical. Every storm that slams the Pacific Northwest doesn't just stop there. The energy from these systems travels east. And when I say travels, I mean it transforms into something completely different. By Wednesday night, a brand new winter storm will form over the northern plains. The pressure reading? 987 millibars. For context, that's the kind of intense low-pressure system we typically see in major hurricanes. But this is happening in December. In the middle of the country, let me paint you a picture of what Wednesday night into Thursday looks like. If you're in Montana, the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, or Michigan's Upper Peninsula, you need to hear this. Wind gusts will reach 50 to 70 miles per hour. That's not a typo. 70 miles per hour winds with snow on the ground creates whiteout conditions. We call them blizzards for a reason. But wait, there's a twist. While the north is getting buried in snow and wind, something bizarre is happening to the south. The same storm system that's bringing blizzards to Minnesota will be pulling warm air north at an unprecedented rate. How warm are we talking? On Thursday, temperatures in Missouri will be 25 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. Indianapolis, which is sitting in the teens right now, will climb above freezing on Wednesday. By Thursday, we're looking at the 40s and 50s across the Ohio Valley. And here's the kicker. All that snow that just fell in Illinois and Indiana last week, it's gonna melt. Fast. Now, keep watching, because at minute 12, I'm going to show you why Christmas week could be one of the warmest on record. But first, we need to talk about something that's developing for Thursday afternoon. Severe weather. In December? Yes, you heard that right. As warm air surges north on Thursday, we have the potential for damaging wind gusts and isolated thunderstorms across the Ohio Valley. Some areas in southern Kentucky and Tennessee might even see rotation in storms. The tornado risk is low, I want to be clear about that. But damaging winds? Those are definitely on the table. Wind gusts could reach 50 to 60 miles per hour even outside of thunderstorms. Think about that for a second. We're talking about a single weather system that's producing blizzards in the north and severe thunderstorms in the south at the exact same time. This is the definition of a dynamic weather pattern. Now, let's zoom back out and look at the bigger picture, because this is where things get really fascinating. Our jet stream, the river of air that controls our weather, is doing something rare right now. It's setting up a pattern that's going to cause wild temperature swings across the entire country. Right now, the East Coast is sitting 15 to 20 degrees below average. People are freezing, but the West Coast, they've been setting record high temperatures for the past 2 weeks. Dozens of records have fallen. Here's what's about to happen, and I need you to pay close attention to this timeline. Tuesday and Wednesday, heat starts building in the Pacific Northwest while they're getting drenched with rain. Temperatures climb 10 to 15 degrees above normal, even as atmospheric rivers dump rain. Wednesday night, the storm system I mentioned earlier forms over the northern plains. This is when things get serious. Thursday, this is the critical day, the warmest day of the week for the Ohio Valley. Temperatures in the 40s and 50s. At the same time, blizzard conditions in Minnesota and Wisconsin, and potential severe weather from Missouri to Kentucky. One day. 3 completely different weather hazards, all connected to the same storm system, Friday and Saturday, another shot of Arctic air drops into the upper Midwest. But here's the thing. It won't be as intense as what we just experienced. You might need a jacket, but it's not the brutal cold we saw last week. Sunday into next week, warmth spreads across the Gulf Coast and Southeast. We're talking 60s and 70s, from Texas to Florida. Now, here comes the part I promised you at 3:20. The Christmas forecast. And honestly, the computer models are showing something I've rarely seen. The GFS model, one of our primary forecasting tools, is projecting temperatures up to 40 degrees Fahrenheit above average around Christmas. Some areas could see 70s all the way up near Chicago. Will this actually happen? I'm skeptical. That would make it one of the warmest Christmas periods ever recorded. But even if the model is overdoing it, all signs point to an above-average temperature pattern for most of the country during Christmas week. Translation: a white Christmas is looking unlikely for most areas. Let me break down the snow forecast for those who are wondering. Between now and Christmas, the northern plains and upper Midwest will see multiple rounds of snow. Friday into Saturday brings another system, then potentially more activity early next week. But for areas east of the Rockies, south of Minnesota, we're looking at a fairly dry pattern leading up to Christmas. The active weather will stay focused on the northern tier and the Pacific Northwest. Speaking of the Pacific Northwest, we need to circle back to that catastrophic flooding threat. Between now and Friday, most areas west of the Cascades will pick up 3 to 7 inches of rain minimum. Higher elevations, 5 to 10 inches. Some coastal areas could approach a foot of rainfall. Why does this matter so much? It's not just about the rain falling right now. It's about what's already happened. Rivers are already near record levels. The ground is saturated. There's nowhere for this water to go except into rivers and streams. And when rivers rise this fast, this high, bad things happen. If you live near a river in Washington or Oregon, you need to have a plan. Know your evacuation routes. Have supplies ready. Monitor local emergency management updates. The atmospheric river events aren't stopping either. As we head toward Christmas, more systems will continue impacting the Pacific Northwest. This is shaping up to be one of the most significant extended periods of heavy rain in years. Now, let's talk about travel impacts, because this affects millions of people. Thursday is going to be the worst day for travel in the upper Midwest and Great Plains. Those 50 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts I mentioned, they don't just create dangerous driving conditions. They can cause power outages. Combine high winds with snow on the ground, and you get near zero visibility even when it's not actively snowing. The wind just picks up the snow that's already fallen and whips it around. We call this ground blizzard conditions. Airlines will likely see delays and cancellations across Minneapolis, Chicago, and Detroit on Thursday and Friday. If you're traveling through these hubs, build in extra time. Consider adjusting your plans if possible. Here's something that might surprise you. The temperature flip from Thursday to Friday is going to create another problem: ice. When temperatures climb into the 40s and 50s on Thursday, snow melts, roads get wet. Then Friday morning, when that Arctic air comes back, all that water freezes. Black ice becomes a major concern, especially on bridges and overpasses. This is actually more dangerous than the snow itself in many cases. At least with snow, you can see it. Black ice is invisible until you're sliding. Let me give you the day-by-day breakdown for travel planning. Monday, manageable for most areas. Cold but clear east of the Rockies. Wet in the Pacific Northwest. Tuesday, conditions start deteriorating in the Pacific Northwest. Heavy rain and mountain snow. Great Plains and eastward remain okay. Wednesday, storm begins forming in the northern plains by evening. Morning travel should be fine. Evening could get dicey in Montana and the Dakotas. This is the day to avoid traveling in the upper Midwest if possible. Blizzard conditions? Likely. High winds guaranteed. Severe weather possible in the Ohio Valley. Friday, conditions improve but icy spots in the morning across the Great Lakes. Northeast sees the storm move through, but mainly as rain. Saturday and Sunday, generally better for most areas. Another system possible in the northern plains, but details are uncertain. Now, here's what's really interesting about this whole setup. And this connects back to that jet stream pattern I mentioned earlier. We're seeing what meteorologists call a split flow pattern. The jet stream is literally splitting into two branches. One branch dips south over the Pacific, bringing those atmospheric rivers to the coast. The other branch lifts north over Canada before diving south into the central United States. When this happens, it creates a battleground. Cold air from Canada, warm air from the Gulf of Mexico. They collide right over the middle of the country. And that collision is what produces these intense storm systems. The pressure gradient, those lines you might see on weather maps, becomes very tight. Tight pressure gradient equals strong winds. It's basic physics, but the results are anything but basic. Here's another fascinating detail. The low-pressure system on Thursday will be moving fast, really fast. It'll cross from Montana to Michigan in about 12 hours. That's covering roughly 1,000 miles in half a day. Fast-moving systems are harder to forecast precisely, but they also mean the worst conditions don't last as long in any one spot. It's a double-edged sword. Now, let's address something important: climate and weather patterns. The West Coast has been exceptionally warm, record after record falling. The atmospheric river events are intense. These are the kinds of patterns we expect to see more frequently as our climate changes. Warmer air holds more moisture. More moisture means heavier precipitation events when storms do develop. I'm not here to debate climate science. I'm here to tell you what's happening and what's coming. And what's coming is intense. The extended forecast beyond Christmas gets murky. Models show continued active weather along the West Coast. Potential for more systems to eject over the Rockies and into the plains. But specifics are too uncertain to detail right now. What we can say, with confidence, the pattern favors above-average temperatures for most of the country through the end of December. The northern plains and upper Midwest will see periodic shots of cold air and snow, but nothing extreme or prolonged based on current data. Let's talk about what you should be doing right now to prepare. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, monitor river levels, have an evacuation plan, stock supplies in case of power outages from high winds. Trees saturated with water and hit by strong winds often fall on power lines. If you're in the northern plains or upper Midwest, prepare for Thursday's storm. Stock up on essentials before Wednesday evening. Charge devices. Fill gas tanks. Have blankets and emergency supplies in your car if you must travel Thursday. If you're in the Ohio Valley, be aware of the rapid temperature changes. Watch for ice Friday morning. If severe weather develops Thursday afternoon, have a way to receive warnings. Know where to shelter? If you're anywhere else, you're probably looking at a fairly quiet week weather-wise. The southern states, southeast, and mid-Atlantic should see pleasant conditions Wednesday through the weekend. Here's something that often gets overlooked. These major pattern changes affect more than just weather. They impact energy usage, agriculture, transportation networks, and even the economy. When the Midwest warms up Thursday, heating demand drops. Natural gas prices react. When the Pacific Northwest gets flooded, shipping through major ports can be disrupted. When blizzards hit, supply chains feel the impact. Weather isn't just about stepping outside. It's interconnected with everything we do. Now, as we get closer to Christmas, there's one more thing I want you to watch for. The model I mentioned earlier, the GFS, has been consistently aggressive with warm temperature forecasts lately. It's been overdoing the heat. So when it shows 70-degree temperatures in Chicago for Christmas, I take that with a grain of salt. But the overall signal of above-average warmth, that's probably accurate. Just maybe not to the extreme the model suggests. The European model, which often performs better with extended forecasts, is also showing warmth, but not quite as extreme. It has temperatures 5 to 15 degrees above average for Christmas, not 20 to 40 degrees above average like the GFS. I'd bet on the European model's take being closer to reality, which still means a mild Christmas for most, just not record-breaking. Here's the timeline for the rest of the week, one more time, because this is important. Monday night into Tuesday, atmospheric river continues pounding the Pacific Northwest. 5+ inches of rain, mountain snow measured in feet. Tuesday night into Wednesday, brief lull, then another atmospheric river arrives. More heavy rain. Storm energy begins moving inland. Wednesday night, Low pressure forms over northern plains, 987 millibars. This is when you need to start taking it seriously if you're in the northern tier. Thursday, peak impacts. Blizzard conditions north, severe weather possible south, warmest temperatures of the week for Ohio Valley. This is the day everything happens at once. Friday, storm moves into northeast. Arctic air returns to upper Midwest. Ice concerns in the morning where snow melted Thursday. High winds continue but begin to diminish. Saturday and Sunday, calmer but still active in northern plains. Another system possible. Most other areas see nice weather. Next week into Christmas, continued mild pattern for most areas. Pacific Northwest stays wet, northern tier stays active, but no major storms currently forecast. The key message here is Thursday. Mark it on your calendar. Thursday, December 19th, is when this weather pattern reaches its peak intensity. If you need to adjust travel plans, do it now. If you need to prepare your home, do it before Wednesday evening. If you need to warn family members in affected areas, don't wait. One more thing before we wrap up. The pattern I'm describing, this split flow with warm temperatures and active northern tier weather, looks like it could persist into early January. That means we might be talking about an extended period of above-average temperatures as we flip the calendar to 2025. It also means the Pacific Northwest should stay wet, and it means the northern states should continue seeing periodic storms. For snow lovers in the Midwest and Northeast, this isn't the pattern you want. For those tired of cold weather, this might be welcome news. Either way, it's what we're dealing with. The atmospheric river events in the Pacific Northwest are the story within the story. These aren't your average rainstorms. Atmospheric rivers are literally rivers of moisture in the sky. When they make landfall, they unload. The one hitting this week is forecast to be one of the strongest we've seen in several years. The moisture content, the duration, the repeated nature of multiple systems in a row, all of it adds up to a serious situation. We've already seen evacuations. We'll likely see more. When rivers crest, when flooding occurs, when mudslides happen on saturated slopes, people's lives are disrupted. Some lose everything. This is why we do these forecasts. Not to create panic, but to provide information. Information allows preparation. Preparation saves lives and reduces losses. The temperature story is remarkable too. Going from 15 to 20 degrees below average on the East Coast to potentially 40 degrees above average near Christmas. That's a 50 to 60 degree swing in some locations over the course of 2 weeks. Our atmosphere is fluid. It flows. It changes. But these kinds of dramatic swings are noteworthy even for meteorologists who study this every day. As we close out this forecast, here's what you need to remember. Wednesday night into Thursday is the critical period for the central United States. The Pacific Northwest situation is ongoing and serious. Temperature swings will be dramatic this week. Christmas is looking mild for most areas. Stay informed. Check local forecasts. Have multiple ways to receive weather warnings. Don't take chances with travel in dangerous conditions. The next forecast will dive deeper into what's shaping up for Christmas week and beyond. Early indications suggest another active pattern developing along the West Coast around December 23rd through 26th. We'll be watching that closely. We'll also be monitoring whether that extreme warmth, the GFS model, is showing moderates or holds. If we really do see 70-degree temperatures near Chicago for Christmas, that would be historic. Worth tracking. For now, focus on this week. Focus on Thursday specifically. Know what's coming for your area. Make smart decisions. Weather can be dangerous, but it doesn't have to be deadly when people are prepared. The atmosphere is about to put on quite a show across America. Multiple weather hazards, dramatic temperature changes, record rainfall in the west, possible blizzards in the north, maybe severe weather in the middle, and all of it happening in the span of a few days. This is what makes weather forecasting both challenging and fascinating. Every system is different, every pattern has its nuances, and the impacts are very real for millions of people. That's the complete breakdown of what's coming this week and beyond. Stay safe out there, be prepared, and we'll see you in the next forecast where we tackle what Christmas week has in store.